Okay, so Christmas is just around the corner and I've already started hearing the radio playing Christmas tunes at my local supermarket. And to put it frankly, they're not good. So I figured it was about time to make a video that went over a couple of genuinely hip jazz Christmas albums, because they do exist. Quick side note, please give this video a little holiday like. Thank you. So the first album on this list shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It's Vince Guaraldi's A Charlie Brown Christmas, which was the soundtrack to the Peanuts Christmas special in 1965. Peanuts, the comic strip, had been around since 1960, but the Christmas special was the first time that most people had seen Charlie Brown and his friends animated on television. The album sold like wildfire. 4 million copies over the course of the next couple of decades were sold, which makes it one of the best-selling Christmas albums of all time. It is responsible for getting a whole new generation sort of interested in jazz, and it's often been cited as one of the most listened to pieces of jazz, even more than albums by John Coltrane and Miles Davis. And of course, it was the first time that most people had heard Linus and Lucy, which is essentially the theme song to Peanuts, which you will definitely have heard. Okay, so second album on this list is Jimmy Smith. Now, Jimmy Smith was a pioneer of the Hammond organ in jazz, which is this just incredible instrument that you need to check out if you haven't. Christmas 64, which was released in 1964, but then re-released as Cookin' Christmas 2 years later, is just oozing with that kind of groovy soul jazz vibe, and every track on the album is worth listening to. It is a pretty dynamic Christmas album. There's a big band on it, and it sort of oscillates wildly between your big band sections, more traditional takes on Christmas carols from the full band, as well as these like really hard swinging organ trio sounds. It goes sort of back and forth. And then occasionally like these really cheesy kind of elevator Hammond organ bits, which they're just great. Next album on the list is another Hammond organ player, this time Joey Defrancesco, who might be the world's best living Hammond organ player, even if Larry Goldings is the funniest living Hammond organ player. The album came out pretty recently, I think it was 2014, and it came out with 2 CDs. The first was all secular songs, Baby It's Cold Outside, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas and whatnot. And the second CD was all sacred songs, Silent Night, We Three Kings, etc. But the whole thing is swinging. The sacred CD is less reined in than you would expect. So even if you're not religious, I think you'll get a lot out of both of those CDs. The whole album is a bit more consistent than Jimmy Smith's album. It's all small combo, there's no big band arrangements. So it's a little easier to chuck on in the background over Christmas dinner. But yeah, man, all the songs are awesome. There are a couple of times where he goes to church with some really gospel-y arrangements, and then there's just like the straight up soul jazz organ combo. I really like that album. A lot. Last album before our honorable mentions is God Rest Ye Merry Jazzmen. The title's a little cringe, but the album's actually got some good music on it. Basically, Columbia Records took 6 of their top jazz artists and got them to contribute a tune apiece. And so the album is not very consistent. It sort of goes all over the place, but there's some really cool performances. The highlight of the whole album really is Dexter Gordon's rendition of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which may be the best version of a sort of straight ahead jazz Christmas song that I've ever heard. The album ends with a really out there version of We Three Kings by the Winter Marsalis Band with Branford on sax. It is an awesome song, but it's not the kind of thing that I put on while eating prawn cocktails with Nana. So yeah, a really good album, probably one more for you to listen to by yourself rather than to put on Christmas Day though. Okay, a couple of honorable mentions, because there are actually quite a lot of really good Christmas songs. Not all of them sort of quite made it to this list. First off, A Very Wolfy Christmas, which is by Woody Goss, who is the organist keyboard player in Wolfpack. Wolfpack aren't a jazz band, and this isn't a jazz album, and it's hardly even a Christmas album, except for the last song, Christmas in LA. But what it is a really lovely tribute to Vince Guaraldi's A Charlie Brown Christmas. And on Woody's YouTube channel, there's a bunch of animations to go along with the album that depict all the Wolfpack members in Peanuts style animation. It's pretty cute. The album is definitely worth listening to. if you're a Wolfpack fan, because it's a really sort of nice representation of a bunch of their songs. If you're not a Wolfpack fan, maybe it'll get you into them, which you should be, because they're great. Next honorable mention is Stan Kenton's A Merry Christmas, and Kenton was a really innovative jazz band leader in the middle of the 20th century. This album is a really good set of interpretations of Christmas songs. They're just, for the most part, not jazz representations. They're very traditional. That being said, they're definitely worth listening to because Stan Kenton did amazing stuff, so check it out. Okay, and finally, I just wanted to single out a couple of individual tracks that didn't come off Christmas albums, but are worth maybe chucking into a Christmas playlist. Firstly, Bill Evans with Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I gather that this was a song that they pulled out fairly often around the Christmas season when they were playing a live show, because there are a few different versions of Bill and his trio playing this song. The most swinging version is off Trio 64, which is a recording that was made in December 1963, and it's a really cool representation of this song in a full Bill Evans trio format. There's another version where Bill sings Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and he's not a singer, but it's very funny. Next up is Charlie Parker with a version of White Christmas, which was recorded live on a broadcast on Christmas Day in 1948, right in the height of sort of bebop's popularity, time to shine. And it's a really cool version of the track, and at one point Charlie throws in a Jingle Bells quote in the solo, which is very fun. But really swinging band as well. Max Roach is on drums, Kenny Dorham's on trumpet. Definitely worth checking out. It's on YouTube, so I'll leave a link in the description. Finally, the weirdest song on this list. It's Miles Davis teaming up with the vocalist Bob Dura with Blue Xmas. Not Blue Christmas, the Elvis song, Blue Xmas. It was made for a compilation of Christmas songs from the Columbia record label, arranged by Gil Evans, features the melody of So What at one point, and it's super cynical. The lyrics are almost like beat poetry and not jolly at all. What's really interesting is that Miles Davis, despite later panning the song and the session, actually admitted that it was a pretty important moment because it was the first time he ever got to play with the saxophonist Wayne Shorter, who would become a really important part of Miles Davis's second great quintet in the 1960s, alongside Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, and Tony Williams. So that's probably enough music for you to sink your teeth into between now, whenever you're watching this, and Christmas. Please, before you go, please give me a like. That'd be grand. That'd be great. And if you'd like to check out a couple more videos that I've done about jazz, I will pop them up on screen. Thank you very much for watching. Ow. And I will see you next time. Oh, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Okay, that's enough of that.